In today's episode, accuse me of cheating on an open book collaborative exam? Fine, I'll report myself to the Honor Council. And this is my 2-week notice. You don't want me to waste time by following procedures? Okay. So let's get started. Accuse me of cheating on an open book collaborative exam? Fine, I'll report myself to the Honor Council. This happened about 10 years ago at my American university. I enrolled in a class that 2 friends also happened to enroll in, an elective for our major. The professor, whom I will call Professor Y, told us straight off the bat that our entire grade would be based on 2 exams that would be open book, and we could collaborate with anyone else in the class, as long as we cited that we did so. Additionally, it was the kind of exam where you could submit it as many times as you want before the deadline. Professor Y's rules though were that he'd grade easiest on the first try, and much tougher with each subsequent try. Fair enough. Now, some background on this professor. I'm not defending him, but I do think this context is important. He immigrated to the States from another country where women are seen as inferior, and the often expectations of women are to be meek and quiet, maybe less so nowadays, but definitely more so when he was growing up. In class one day, a female student challenged the professor. He argued back, she admitted he made a good point, and he said to her, "You are very agreeable. You'd make a great wife." Now, at this point I probably should have reported him for sexism. However, we all apparently let it slide. He was in his late 60s, he had tenure, so I think we all brushed it aside as harmless, hindsight 20/20ths. I am female, BTW. Fast forward a few weeks into the semester, and the first exam is given to us. My male friend, David, and I did the test together. We submitted it on the same day. On the bottom of my test, I wrote "worked with David" because I wanted to follow the prof's rules. A few days later, we all got our first attempt at the test back. David scored the equivalent of about a C. Remember, he had further chances to improve. My test had a big fat 0 at the top with the words "cheater" written on it. I was shocked. I obviously held back after class and asked why this was written on my test, and Professor Y started screaming at me. "I hate liars. I hate people like you. You are scum. You are a liar." I could not believe what I was hearing. I was sobbing, explaining that he said, and it was in the syllabus, that we could work with other students. I asked where I had cheated, and Professor Y had literally underlined the first 5 words of "O&E question were both David," and I had started off the paragraph saying something like, "The reason that we are seeing these results is..." And that was it. I asked him why he thought I cheated and not David. But Professor Y would not listen to me, continued to insult me until I left. Now, my university was super strict about plagiarism and cheating. We got emails like once a week about the Honor Council. All the emails said that anyone caught cheating would be reported to the Honor Council and sit trial. So I went to their office and reported myself. They were all confused and were like, "Wait, you're reporting yourself?" Not the professor, and I told them calmly that I had been accused and given a 0 without any evidence, so I wanted to sit trial. They incredulously told me no student had ever asked for a trial, but I was following the university rules, and I was confident I would win. Needless to say, Professor Y was not happy. At the next class, he pulled me after class and screamed yet again that they were his rules in his class, and he decides the grades, not the Honor Council. I said that's not the university's policy, and if he thought I was cheating, he should have gone to them. Since he didn't, I did. He was livid and tried to bully me to back down, but I didn't. We had the trial, and I obviously won. At the end of the semester, I organized a meeting with the dean of the school and filed a formal sexism complaint against Professor Y. The dean, also incredulous, promised to launch a formal investigation into this professor and would be meeting with him to discuss. I'm sure that nothing happened besides a slap on the wrist, but even a slap on the wrist was worth it. And this is my 2-week notice. This story occurred about a year ago, but requires some background. This might be a little long. I worked at a local golf course for about 7 years, from when I was 13 to 20. When I had first started there, my mother was the manager of all things food and beverage until that summer, because she took on a different job. Working there for so long put me in line to be the new manager. However, I was not willing to take the position, because I was enrolled in college and wouldn't have the time for it, and considering my mother worked 100-hour-plus weeks sometimes in our busy season, I wasn't willing. So they brought in Addie to replace my mother as food and beverage manager, and I was another regular employee. The golf course also has a general manager who we will call Chad. Chad sucks. He was creepy towards all the girls that worked there, and had a terrible temper. One similar to a toddler. We never saw eye to eye on anything, especially his management style, and was always getting on my case even though I was the only person on the food and beverage side of things that knew what was up and how to do anything, including Addie. So this brings us to the story. I was working in our little restaurant serving our golf leagues that come in. One league in particular liked to stay really late, like 12 a.m. to 1 a.m., but I never really minded as I got along well with them, and I became good friends with a lot of the members. And they were always buying beer/shots, so there was never much of an issue with it. When Addie started there, Chad decided to change up our dining room policies to close the restaurant at 10:30 p.m. This personally really aggravated me. They were paying customers and I was happy to serve them, and I was the only one that was usually serving them. But Chad kept going on about labor costs, which if anyone reading this knows anything about serving, I wasn't making much hourly, and was relying on tips to make money. So they put this into place, and I tell Chad it's his responsibility to tell the league they have to leave at 10:30 and not me. He didn't. And guess what? The league members were pissed. First mistake. Addie would not often or honestly never stay to help with the leagues, but was adamant about the new hours. As she is about to head out for the day, she tells me that I will be training 2 girls in the restaurant that night. We have about 80 extremely needy golfers in the restaurant at once on this night in particular. I barely had time to train one, but she did not stay to help out with that. Looking back on it, it was definitely not my responsibility to train anyone either. But I was willing to help out as she was still getting adjusted to the job, and she knew that and took advantage of that. Second mistake. Then mentions to me that if I am not clocked out by 10:50 p.m., then I will not be paid for any work after the fact. Third mistake. I ended up training one of the girls on our POS computer, and told her she was done for the day, and that she can clock out. And continued to train the other girl for the rest of the evening. So when the leagues left at 10:30, there was food on the floor, bathrooms weren't cleaned, trash was not taken out, the tables were moved from their normal resting place, and the drawer wasn't counted. I told the girl I was training to move the tables, and I counted the drawer. Well, it's 10:50 now, and I'm not working for free. So we clocked out and left. Could I have done more? Absolutely, but I needed to prove a point. The next morning I had many missed calls from Chad and Addie. I didn't have to come in for 2 days, so I just let them keep calling. So on the next shift day I finally called Chad back. He told me to come in for a meeting with him and Addie. When I get there, he gives me a story about how he had to come in and clean everything up with Addie, and why would I ever do something like that? I told him that Addie not only had me training 2 people on our busiest night of the week, alone, but I also had to be out at 10:50, or I was told I wasn't being paid. After going back and forth about how Addie was just kidding, and I shouldn't take things so seriously, I had finally had enough of Chad and his antics. I told them I was putting in my 2 weeks, and the looks on their faces were as if I had shot someone right in front of them. It was awesome. I continued to work for the next 2 weeks, doing everything I was supposed to and training Addie on any little detail I could think of before I left. After my 2 weeks was up, I ended up getting calls from Addie and Chad all the time because nothing was going right. I was asked again by Chad to take Addie's position on, and Addie was calling me telling me how impossible Chad is to work with. It was truly beautiful to watch all the chaos unfold even after I left. Addie ended up quitting a month after because her and Chad couldn't get along. I don't miss much about that job or place, but I do miss my regulars every day. If any of y'all are reading this, I hope you're doing well, smiley face. You don't want me to waste time by following procedures? Okay. I was watching r// today, and one of the stories on his video reminded me of this. Like the story in his video, I worked at, for legal reasons let's call it Walmart myself. And King hated the spill rule. Here's the thing. If you don't follow spill procedure, you get bitched out. If you do, you get bitched out for wasting time. For context, for those that have the absolute blessing of never working the hell that is Walmart, procedure states you have to wait by the spill until another associate comes by. If it's a bad spill, you're supposed to help clean up the spill. I've got millions of Walmart horror stories, and this is one of many. We had a customer knock about 3 glasses off the shelf, breaking them. Per procedure, I waited by the spill. The next 10 minutes, Jedi to backroom over and over and over and over on the intercom. It must have been announced about 4 times in under 5 minutes. For context, I pulled pallets of freight from the backroom to the sales floor, so it wasn't life-threatening, I knew. Finally, another associate sees me, gets a broom, and we clean up the spill. As soon as I get to the backroom, my supervisor bitched me out saying you are needed here, not out there. You leave that to the sales team. The next day when I came in, I was written up for wasting time. When I explained what had happened, I was again told, well, next time you should just leave it. You see where this is going, right? That's sweet MC. About a week later, we had a new guy working chemistry. Now, with backroom, we have to pull everything off trucks and stack it on pallets. Then pull those to the floor. He starts to pull the most unstable pallet I've ever seen. Thing was leaning before he left. He pulls it to the sales floor, and gets all the way to chem with me behind him when it goes. Boxes on boxes fall, and laundry detergent and fabric softener go everywhere. We're talking at least 7 bottles worth, all over the floor and quickly into the women's apparel section. I pull my pallet around and keep walking. As I'm coming back, I see him standing there. Looking back, I feel bad for doing this, but at that moment, I didn't give a single solitary F***ck. I said, "You'll need some speedy dry, ask D***ck, our supervisor who bitched me out, fake name for some." And walked away. When management asked why I didn't help, I straight up told them, you told me not to worry about spills. That I should leave it for others, and you wrote me up. I'm just following your instructions. I didn't get written up, and never got bitched at for following procedures again. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.